Hello, welcome back. I'm Rachel and you're watching Kalkine TV live from Sydney. Welcome to the Sectoral Pulse by Kalkine TV, a special show covering all sectoral movements for the markets for the day. The Australian equity benchmark ASX 200 opened marginally lower after the US stocks closed mixed overnight. However, the index soon recovered and gained 11.10 points. The index was supported by the heavyweight miners and banks, while losses in tech companies tracking overnight Wall Street losses capped gains. Over the last 5 days, the index is virtually unchanged, but is currently 0.25% below its 52-week high. Australian shares are trading higher, led by heavyweight miners and banks, while losses in tech companies tracking overnight Wall Street losses capped gains. The S&P ASX 200 index rose 0.2% to 7,080.80 after slipping as much as 0.2% earlier. Overnight, Wall Street finished lower as investors dumped heavyweight growth stocks. Blue-chip tech giants dragged the Nasdaq Composite Index about 2% lower, its biggest single-day decline in almost 6 weeks. From the sectoral front, Australian tech stocks tracked those losses and fell almost 2%. With heavyweight buy now pay later firm Afterpay and WiseTech Global dropping. Banks were the top boosters in the market, advancing as much as 0.7% to hit their highest since February last year. Australia and New Zealand banking group jumped after its first half cash profit more than doubled from last year. It, however, declined around 2% later in the session. The country's number 2 lender, Westpac Banking Corp, was brushing off a civil proceeding initiated by the Australian corporate watchdog against the bank on allegations of insider trading. Miners traded lower after gaining around 0.4% earlier in the session, with gold miners being the biggest drags after bullion prices fell more than 1% overnight. Gold miners were down 1.8%, with Newcrest Mining and Northern Star Resources witnessing a fall. Moving on now to updates from the global markets. Asian shares risked falling for a 4th straight session on Wednesday as sentiment took a knock from a sell-off in large-cap Wall Street tech stocks, combined with talk of rising US interest rates. Holidays in Japan, China and South Korea limited the early reaction, leaving MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan trading flat. Japan's Nikkei is shut, but futures traded down. The Nasdaq futures steadied after a sharp pullback overnight, while S&P 500 futures inched up 0.1%. The Nasdaq had dropped 1.9% on Tuesday as some big tech names ran into profit-making, including Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple and Amazon.com. Stretched valuations were tested when US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said rate hikes may be needed to stop the economy overheating. Across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand's benchmark S&P NZX 50 index fell as much as 1% to 12,787.44. The top percentage losers in the benchmark were Fisher & Paykel Healthcare Corp, followed by Vista Group International and Mercury New Zealand. Data showed unemployment rate in the country fell unexpectedly in the March quarter as the economy created more jobs than forecast. From the currency front, the Fed's patience has allowed yields on US 10-year notes to ease back to 1.59% from last week's top of 1.69%, though the market has struggled to break below 1.53%. Just the mention of higher US rates was enough to help the dollar recoup a little of its recent losses. The euro dropped back to $1.20.15. The dollar was a shade firmer on the yen at 109.36. Against a basket of currencies, the dollar edged up to 91.282 and away from a recent 2-month low of 90.422. The New Zealand dollar blipped higher to 71.6 cents when local jobs data proved stronger than expected. In the crypto market, Bitcoin traded lower by 2.16% to $55,108.25 US. Ether was trading up 1.58% to $3,309.12 in commodity markets. Palladium soared to a record high on worries over short supplies of the metal used in emissions controlling devices in automobiles. Palladium prices surged to an all-time high of $3,017.17 per ounce on Tuesday amid robust demand and supply deficit. Palladium futures crossed the $3,000 per ounce level mark for the first time, with prices up more than 21% since mid-March. High demand of the silver-white metal in the automobile industry for catalytic converters amid stringent pollution guidelines in China and Europe has skyrocketed the demand for palladium. Supply concerns from the world's leading palladium producer, including Russia's Norilsk Nickel, has also aided the soft metals prices. However, a global shift to electric vehicles may limit the demand in the future. Gold was left lagging at $1,776 an ounce. Oil prices climbed to a 7-week peak as more countries opened their borders to travellers, improving the demand outlook for petrol and jet fuel. Brent added 57 cents to $69.49 a barrel, near its highest since mid-March, while US crude rose 52 cents to $66.23 per barrel. Crude oil prices climbed as several states in the US eased their lockdowns. Further, the European Union plans to open its boundaries for vaccinated foreign travellers, aiding oil prospects in the future. A fall in US crude oil inventories by 7.7 million barrels in the previous week ending 30th of April, as per API data, has also helped lift oil prices. The prices are also supported by the weaker US dollar, making it easier to hold crude oil for other currency holders. Moving on to news that matters, coming in, the ban on travellers from India by Australia has added anxiety for its cricketers after the Indian Premier League suspension. The Australian government has barred its own citizens from returning home within 14 days of being in India on pain of fines and jail, leaving dozens of its IPL players, coaches and officials stranded. Australian fast bowler Cummins is isolating in an Ahmedabad hotel after 2 of his Calcutta Knight Riders teammates contracted COVID-19 before organisers pulled the plug on the tournament on Tuesday. Cummins said Australia's travel ban, which will be reviewed on the 15th of May, has come as a little bit of a shock. With 3.45 million active cases, India recorded 357,229 new infections on Tuesday, while deaths rose to 222,408. 3 IPL teams have now confirmed COVID-19 cases, with a 4th team, Sunrisers Hyderabad, reporting to have a positive test returned by wicket-keeper batsman Wriddhiman Saha. Indian media reported that the Chennai Super Kings Australian batting coach Mike Hussey has contracted COVID-19. Hussey would be the 3rd case on the team, which has gone into isolation after announcing on Tuesday their bowling coach and a member of the travel support team had tested positive. That's all for now. Stay tuned with Kalkine TV for more live updates. We'll be back with more news on the markets, economy, diverse themes and sectors. I'm Rachel, signing off for now.